Hi, good evening, good evening, good evening. This is Lady B, the psychic, and I decided I wanted to do a reading on some of the events that have gone on in the US in the last 24 hours. So I was planning to post several videos today, just, lighthearted readings, but I think it's important that we kind of talk about some of the things that have gone on. So I want to address the death of Charlie Kirk and how this is going to impact the nation, and also what the energy is surrounding this event, the political public reaction, and the long-term consequences. Those are some things that I want to start out with. And then we're going to move to some other things related to that, all that have pretty much happened within the last 24 hours. So I want to start out with by saying that any death is a horrific thing. Anytime anybody dies, and also, the family, the loved ones of those individuals. It's always a very tragic situation. So we've got to start out with that. Condolences to those related to the individual that passed away. So now let's talk a little bit about the cards that I've drawn tonight and what all of this means. Let's talk about it. So I've drawn some tarot cards this evening. I wanted to really I sat here and did a little research on this individual. I honestly had never really heard of this person. And yesterday was the first time. And I really try not to watch too much of the news anymore because it's so sad. It's just so much going on right now that it can just be an overload. So with that said, I did a little research, and then I went about sitting down, taking several hours to really pull cards and to find the right meaning of these cards. So let's get started. So the first card I drew was the Tower card, and that was the overall energy of this situation. So with the Tower card, it represents a sudden shock or upheaval. For example, the death of Charlie Kirk. For people, it can feel like it kind of really shook everything. It shook the nation. It was a challenge, and it's challenging the existing power structure. So it's challenging the power structure in so many ways. And I'm going to throw in a little bit of my research that I did. And the research that I did on this individual, it said that he had asked our president, or the president of the United States, had asked him to slow up and kind of ease back on the Epstein files, and he refused. And now all of a sudden he's gone, and the Epstein files are kind of quiet. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that too. But it's kind of interesting. So with his death, it shook the nation, and it's challenged the power structures. So what I mean by that is it's going to expose some deep cracks in the political and social landscape. It really is. This event is not just about one man. It's a symbol of a larger collapse of extreme ideology or unchecked rhetoric. So that's kind of deep. It's a symbol of what is to come. Expect chaos in the immediate aftermath, with people scrambling to control the narrative. So you're going to have a lot of people out there trying to control the narrative of this situation, of what has happened. And that was what I got from the Tower card. So you're going to have it's a lot of sudden shock because people weren't expecting it. And then it's going to challenge the political power structure and expose those deep cracks in it. So this is going to be something to really watch out for. It's going to be some chaos in the immediate aftermath. So that's right now, while they're searching for and scrambling to control what the narrative is. And like I said, it's a symbol of a larger collapse. So the next card that I drew, which has to do with immediate impact, is the Five of Wands. Okay, so this is immediate impact. And what I found, what I felt from the universe with this card, what it gave me was, this suggests conflict, protest, and verbal battles. This social media and news outlets will be flooded with arguments, blaming, shifting, and accusations. It may initiate or ignite like a clash between opposing groups, especially between far-right supporters and those who oppose their views. The atmosphere may be hostile and divided, with people more focused on being right than finding solutions. So right after this happens, this is immediate. The immediate impact of this situation that occurred yesterday is that there's going to be conflict. There's going to be protests. There's going to be verbal battles. I heard on one news media that this could start like a civil war. Doesn't have to. But yes, it could. Because you have a lot of people out there who believe in one rhetoric and another people that believe in an opposite. And, honestly, that is what the United States is supposed to be all about. You're supposed to have the rights to these different liberties to be able to believe what you want to. But we have to live in harmony. So let's go on. We're going to go on to the card number 3 that I pulled. And this card represents political ripple effect. So it's the Emperor reversed. So it's not just the regular emperor, it's the reversed emperor. And like I said, this card is representing political, like a political ripple effect. So the Emperor reverse shows weakening leadership and instability in the government structure. I think this is pretty deep, that all this has to do, this is all coming from this one person's untimely demise. Is now we're looking at the fact that this is going to weaken the leadership and the instability in the government structure here in the U.S. Politicians may use this death to push their agenda. And if you're watching the news and you're on the social media channels, you're seeing that that's exactly what they're doing. Then they may start creating even more polarized things to explain what happened. It may some leaders could start losing their credibility as they fumble their response or seem opinionated about it or opportunist about it, and they could lose their credibility. Sometimes less is more. You also will find that they may trigger investigations or expose corruption that's tied to certain factors. And these things, I'm going to say it again, less is more. You don't have to trigger these things, but some of these politicians are going to trigger that because they're going to be running scared because of this chaotic type of clash or fumble that's going on right now. So that's what I got from that third card. But we're going to move on to the fourth card. At the end of all of this, I'm going to give you like a summary of everything too. So the fourth card, which is public reaction, and this is the moon. So this card is the moon. And what I got from that is confusion, misinformation, because that always happens when you have things like this and you have two different sides that are fighting with each other, or you have one side that wants to pick a fight and get the other side involved. You're going to have lots of misinformation. And that's what's going to happen. That's what's going on now. And you're going to have fear, dominant type of fear of public deception. So there's going to be a lot of fear of them being fearful of how the public is going to see whoever these powers to be are. So this is going to bring conspiracy theories, which will spread rapidly. Many people won't know what to believe, honestly. They're going to be very confused and really searching to figure out what exactly to believe right now. So your best bet is always to trust your gut. Trust your gut. And it's not going to fail you. So right now, you're going to see a lot of people are going to be very confused. This card that I drew also is warning of hidden truths. So there are hidden truths that it is warning us about. It's suggesting that the full story around this person's death, around the man who passed away yesterday, around his death, may not come out immediately. So there's some hidden truths behind the death of Charlie Kiirk, and we're not going to hear about them immediately. And that's what this card, the moon card, which has to do with public reaction, is saying, that the full story behind his death may not be immediately told. The uncertainty could fuel a lot of different radical thoughts from some of the different groups out there. So that was card 4. We're going to move on to the 5th card that I drew, which is also the last card that I drew in regards to Charlie Kiirk and his death and what it means to the nation, what we should expect. So this last card, which is the 5th one, is long-term outcome. Justice. It's the justice card, which I drew. And with the justice card, it is ultimately justice indicating truth and accountability while emerging. It's truth and accountability that will emerge, but only after a period of chaos. Got tongue-tied there. So after a period of chaos, We're going to have the truth and accountability period of time. So right now we're getting ready to go into chaos. We're getting ready to go into uncertainty. We're getting ready to go into a lot of negative type of energy. But after that, it's going to be a period of time of truth and accountability. The death could lead to a legal or systematic change, especially around hate speech, political funding, and extremist movements. Let me say this again. His death could lead to legal or systematic changes, especially around hate speech, political funding, and extremist movements. Now, in addition to that, it may force the country to face uncomfortable truths about division, propaganda, and violence. Through painful as it may be, the moment has the potential to rebalance power and move towards a greater fairness, but only if people demand it. So right now, this stuff can bring a lot of different things, a lot of different changes in and around the nation. It can create a negative chaos, and then it can bring the truth out, and it can help people to rebalance the power that has been knocked off balance. Because right now, as a nation, we are not in balance at all. We are divided. We're divided in a negative way. We're divided by race. We're divided by sex. We're divided by, or I should have said gender, whatever. Or we are also divided by what people do in their privacy of their own bedrooms with who they love. So there's a lot of division going on here in the nation. We've got people being uprooted and taken away from their families, and there's a lot of things going on. So right now, our country is at a point of imbalance. We're not balanced. We're off. We're off balance. But this moment that has happened has the potential to rebalance and move us towards a greater fairness. But only if we as a people demand it. So let me give you a little summary of everything. So short term, what's going to happen in the short term is shock. People were shocked. People were angry. Misinformation is going to be on the rise with this. And also the raising tensions are things that are going to happen in the short term. So that's a lot of negativity, a lot of chaos. Medium term, political instability and the rise of conspiracy theories. So there's going to be a lot of conspiracy theories out there about how this death happened, why it happened, so on and so forth. Okay? The next thing, long term, this is the long term summary or effect of what has happened. Long term, potentially, we could have in the long term justice and reform. If the society conforms and confronts the deeper issues behind his death. So if we're looking at this person's death, we're looking at Charlie Kiirk's death, and we're using it as a moment to catapult us into a better place. We can look at it as a nation instead of going into a dark, chaotic period, which we will go into because of all this, we can forge a stronger, healthier path into a healing and justice future. But it's got to, that healing, that justice, it's got to have a collective effort. So it can't be just one group of people coming together and saying, let's heal, let's, have justice here. But it's got to be all sides have to come together. So only when that happens will we start feeling a collective healing path back to balance. That's where we want to be. We want to be balanced. And once we are able to get back to that balance point, we'll feel better as a nation. So I did draw some more cards about this situation, but I think I'm going to leave this one here right now. And I'm going to make another video in regards to another reading. This next reading is going to actually be about the race relations and public safety surrounding this event of Charlie Kiirk's death. So watch out for part 2 of this. This is going to be part 1, the reading about his death and how it's affecting. And so we know and just that there's going to be chaos. There's going to be a little period of negativity. And we can bring it back to a healing place, but we have to, and that's in the long term. So we've got that short term, medium term, and long term. In the long term, we're working towards getting it back to a place where we can have healing and justice. So that's part 1. I'm going to go ahead and jump off here, and I'm going to do part 2.